Alright, I've done this once before in my life, and I hated it because it was nerve-wracking and stressful, and I have a feeling that the second time is going to feel the same. This is where we left off on the last video. The head is on and torqued and everything. We have the cams on, also torqued and everything. Cylinder 1 is at top dead center, and then our cams, both of the lobes on cylinder 1 are facing outward. This is all of my old timing chain stuff, and I have a new timing chain kit ready to go in. The scary I mean, I've learned that everything about this is scary because you're dealing with, hundredths of an inch of clearance, and if that number is not right, bad things happen. All of this stuff is just too, precise. It's scary. Okay, this is my old timing chain. I'll explain kind of what I'm doing when I install the new one, but you'll have a different color link that you have to line up with a certain mark on the sprocket somewhere. See that dot up at the top? So that has to go on that special link, but if you happen to be just one tooth off, a quarter inch, your internal timing is gonna be all wrong and bad things are gonna happen. I was so paranoid the first time I did this on the S14 KA, and I thought, my second time, it'll be easier. No, I'm so nervous. This timing chain kit that I got comes with every single little thing that I will possibly need, which means all of our old stuff, like that included, can come off. Dude, the amount of relief that I'm gonna feel if this engine actually starts is gonna be unreal. Again, this is our old gear, which it's probably fine, but I'd rather just install the whole new kit. And here is our nice and shiny new gear. And you can see that little indent. That's what we're gonna use for the timing later on. We just put that there, put that back. Boom, just like that. I forgot to mention too, I didn't make a whoopsie, I guess, I just didn't even think about it. But when I installed the head onto the block, I didn't keep track of where the pistons were. I have no idea if we were at top dead center or not. You can use a long screwdriver if you have one. I always just use TIG wire. So I have a TIG welding rod right here. Take your spark plugs out, and you can just put that wire right down there to where it actually contacts with piston number 1. And then you get a wrench and you put it right here, and you can turn the crank, and as that piston goes up and down, you can watch the very tip of that TIG wire also go up and down. To find top dead center, you want piston 1 to be at the very top of its travel, which is the highest point of that TIG rod, which is where we are now. So I just wanted to explain that because I did that off camera. And then we got our big boy in here. This is I gotta start learning, because I know how to do things now, but I don't know what anything's called. Idler sprocket? Is that this one or is that the lower one? These are all things I should know. I don't. Old, new. We're doing everything hand tight for now, and then I'm gonna go through and torque everything. And I hate torquing this down because, again, bad things can happen. That bolt that I just hand tightened, that threads into the head, and the head is aluminum. Aluminum is a softer metal. It's really easy to strip. I have to look at the FSM again to see what the actual torque spec is, but you have to torque that thing down pretty decent. And you have to follow the torque spec. You have to tighten that thing as much as it's supposed to be tightened. And again, I've only done this once. It hasn't happened to me. Knock on wood. I have multiple friends who it has happened to. Sometimes you'll be torquing that thing down, you're not at the torque spec yet, and it'll strip. I don't want that to happen. I don't like the idea of that whatsoever. You could do nothing wrong, and sometimes that'll just strip because it's an old 30-year-old head, So we are going to cross our fingers and pray to the 240 gods today that we get away scot-free. Now we have our new chain. Oh wait, this is so dumb. I said chain. I was like, damn, I wonder if you could use a chain as a chain. And then I realized that I have a chain right now. Damn, dude, if I rock chains, this could kind of be sick, but I don't, so it's not. Okay. We are putting our chain through, and I should have done that differently. I knew that. What I should have done is you put the chain on the gear first, and then you drop that through there, and then you can hand tighten it. So you see how we have that different color link right there, and how I line that up with that little divot or dimple on the idler sprocket pulley thing that I don't know what it's called. Trying to explain this is funny because like I don't really know what I'm doing. I've done this once before and I'm watching YouTube videos, you know? So I'm in no place to like tell people how to do this. I'm more like explaining it out loud on camera for myself. Different color link right over the divot. And then sure enough, on this sprocket down here, come on, oh come on. See that other little divot down there and see that other little link? So now it's a matter of playing with that top sprocket until that bottom one lines up. So you can see there, that is still lined up, and then down here, the chain is still loose because we haven't installed the tensioners, but down here, you can see that that link is also gonna go right over that divot. But again, see, you could be one tooth off and then bad things happen, so you really got to make sure you're right on it. Next, we have our guides, of which there are 2 of. There actually are more, like the kit came with these 2 additional guides that most people end up, Nissan either like recalled them or like wrote them out of the FSM. I forget what it was exactly. I want to say they went, I don't remember exactly where they went. I removed them on the S14, but it was a while ago. Essentially, after a while, the timing chain will just rattle on them. It's like a super common KA thing is the timing chain rattle. And you can remove those guides and it doesn't affect the car at all. It just removes that rattle. It looks like on the S13 KA they were already removed because this is all that came off of it. So I'm not gonna install these. We just have our 2 side guides here and then the tensioners. Again, we are just hand tightening everything for now. Okay, same thing with this side. And then the tensioner is what puts pressure on that to actually give tension to the chain. But for right now, it can all just kind of flap about. Here we are so far. You can see lined up there. Also lined up on that bottom one. And then you can see how this little thing, even though it's not tensioned yet, it's really able to squeeze it together to make sure we're on the right teeth. And now we can actually install our tensioner so that it holds like that. And again, we are just hand tightening everything because I actually got to look up the torque spec again. All right. That's hand tight though. And then see that little, that push pin? My old one's a good example here. So there's a spring inside of there that pushes that piece of metal out, and that's what tensions the spring, or not the spring, the chain, sorry. So if you put like a paper clip or a push pin in there when it's fully compressed, it keeps it compressed so you can install it like that. And then once I torque everything down and I pull that pin out, that piston will push out and then put tension on the chain. I'm gonna go ahead and get this torqued now. Right there. There it is. Now we'll do these. There it is. Boom. And this one. There it is. And now for my least favorite thing ever, this one. I have the FSM pulled up on my phone here. Just kind of looks overwhelming if you really look at it. It's also really hard. I mean, I guess I can zoom in. It's that bolt right there, and there are specs. So in foot-pounds, it's 48 to 61 foot-pounds. I got our torque wrench set to 55 foot-pounds. And I mean, dude, if it strips, I don't really know what you do. Like, it's really, really bad things happen. It's not gonna strip. Knock on 240. Come on, baby. There's 20 foot-pounds. There's 30. There's 40. Dude, it's tight, man. 45, 48, 50, 53, 54, 55. Oh, we did it. Oh. It's like gambling, but you don't win anything. All you do is not lose. Okay, so torqued. I think that's it so far. We can pull this pin now and see how that piston kind of shot out and it's putting tension on that guide we added. That bottom chain is tight now. And then just quadruple checking that chain link is still lined up, and of course That chain link is still lined up. So the lower timing chain is good now. But guess what? We have another. So just in case you weren't stressed out enough already, we now have 2 more sprockets and technically like 2 more chains, but it's like a 2-in-1 chain. And sure enough, all of these also have little dowels or whatever those are called, divots that have to line up. It's the feeling that I felt when I first refreshed the S14 KA. That was my first time like ever taking the head off. I took every accessory off and redid every gasket. And I remember very vividly feeling like there's no way that this works when I put it back together, because it was so foreign to all of me, and I was like, I disassembled this engine, put it back together, and expected it to work. I have that same feeling now, but times 10, because I took the pistons out, I did my main bearings, like every single piece of this engine has been in my hands, and I hate that. So here is our upper timing chain. See what I mean about it being 2 chains, but like technically just 1 chain? So now we kind of have to fit this whole assembly in. And nothing is going to be lined up yet. On these upper 2, the camshaft sprockets, you can see there's a separate colored link there that's on the dot, and there's a separate colored link there that's on the dot, and then it's not even on this bottom sprocket yet, but there's a third link with a 3rd dot down there. But now I need to manually rotate the camshafts until this little dowel locks into the sprockets here, if that makes any sense. So this one I just thought I was losing my mind. I think that I'm not in the wrong here. I think. It's been like 45 minutes since I last filmed. We have made some changes. All of our cam caps are off. Our cams are just loose and resting there. I had that upper timing chain installation, and I was trying to line up those dowels. These are the dowels I was talking about, with the hole, or whatever you want to call that, on the back of the sprocket, and it was not working. I had done it before, and it just wasn't physically working. I was looking at these lobes here. I think I even showed it earlier. Top dead center is supposed to be, on the compression stroke, is supposed to be these lobes facing outwards on both cams. But I was looking at the FSM, and it showed that this cam, this dowel for top dead center, is supposed to be pretty much vertical, like right there. But when I set it there, and I looked at the lobes, that's not right. And then I looked at cylinder 4, and those lobes are, if I were to crank that down, that would be opening those valves, which if the engine's at top dead center, the valve would contact the piston right there. I'm here like I'm rotating the cams, I'm like I have to be doing something wrong, because I'm new to this. Clearly this is my fault. Then I started looking into it, and just for fun, I pretended that this cam was on this side, and this side was on this side, and sure enough, if we have that dowel vertically up and down, those lobes are facing outward, or they would be facing outward if this cam was over there. And then I googled it, and see how there is a very light pinkish red marking there. You guessed it, that is supposed to be the exhaust cam. And I am 1000% sure, very confident, that I did not swap them. That is exactly to the T how I got it back from the machine shop. I can very confidently say the machine shop put the cams in flip-flopped, but the problem with that is because they assembled the head, they set the valve lash, and they set everything, like using their special tools and everything, they set all of those measurements with the cams on the wrong side, so everything's wrong. It's a really reputable machine shop. I'm very confident that they're closed right now. I'm gonna call them tomorrow. They should fix everything free of charge. I'm just bummed because you're not really supposed to reuse head gaskets. You're not really supposed to reuse head studs. And I'm gonna have to pull the head off again, dude. I was so proud of myself for just getting that thing back on. As I'm editing this video, I've been doing a bunch of research and talking to a couple of friends, because keep in mind, I'm new to all this. I guess Nissan sells the little shims that go under the cams. So I should be, first of all, I have to figure out if it's too out of spec to run, because it might be runnable as is. I still haven't heard from the machine shop. But I'm now thinking that worst case scenario is just popping the cams off and then putting in new shims. I think I'm still learning. There's one possibility here. You can see that under the cams, they did go through and mark everything with an E for exhaust, and on the other side it's I for intake. So those are on the right side. My thought is that possibly they set the valve lash correctly, and then upon final installation, they accidentally swapped the cams. My saving grace here would be I am going to flip-flop the cams so that the exhaust is on the exhaust, the intake's on the intake, fully torque down everything, and then use my feeler gauges to see if it's within spec. And if it is, that means that they set everything correctly and then switched it, like flopped them at the last minute, the final assembly. If it's wrong, I gotta take it back to the machine shop. They gotta redo, flip-flop everything and redo it. What's interesting to me though is that that clearance is the same for both intake and exhaust on a KA. So technically, flip-flopping them would change the lobe position, as we found out, but it shouldn't change that clearance. So the fact that I'm getting 0.011 means it was out of spec to begin with? Or would swapping them change that? I don't know, dude. I'm you know what? I'm patting myself on the chest. I'm patting myself on the back for figuring that out, because I don't think I could have figured that out a couple months ago. I didn't know enough, but the fact that I was able to figure out that it wasn't my fault, I'm proud of that. I am so anal about making sure that everything stays on the right side, that flip-flopping these feels illegal, but I think this is the way they're supposed to go. And now, we reinstall all the caps and follow the torque pattern, then we're good to go. With the cams torqued down, I have my feeler gauges, and this is the 0.13 inches, which according to the FSM, that should be the tightest it should be allowed to be, 0.013 to 0.016. And that is a hot measurement. I'm measuring this cold, obviously, because I can't get the engine hot right now. Google says the difference is like very minimal. Even though the engine's cold, I can still measure it as is. So we are gonna stuff this little feeler gauge and really, we really hope that it fits, but it doesn't. It's too tight. Let's see what size fits. Let's try 0.012. Nope. That's too tight still. Let's try 0.011. There we go. So 0.011, the recommended tightest clearance is 0.013. I am not willing to take that risk, I don't think. Really? What do I do? I'm trying to think here. I've never set valve lash myself. That's new to me because they assembled the head at the machine shop. I'm not against learning, but I paid a pretty penny for all the machine work that I got done. So like if I'm doing the work because they did it wrong, I want like a refund or a partial refund or something, you know what I mean? Because if I pull the head off, I don't want to reuse the head studs, I don't want to reuse the head gasket, even though it's probably okay. That's the whole reason I swapped out the rod bolts, because even though it's probably okay, I want to build this thing right. Damn. Okay. It's 6 p.m. right now. They closed at 5. When it first happened, it was like 5:04. And I called them and they didn't answer. Like I said, the machine shop's been around for years and years and years. They build some really high-end stuff. People make mistakes. Like I'm very confident that they'll fix it. They'll make it right. I'm just bummed because I'm stubborn and impatient and I wanted this to be done. I'm gonna call them tomorrow, first thing when they open, and see what they say. I'll keep you posted. Good morning. It is the next morning now. And we learned things. I don't want to say I was overreacting. I don't know enough. Oops, I got water or coffee on my lens. Probably said it far too many times by now and you guys are getting sick of it, but all this bottom end stuff and even like the head work and the valve lash and all of that is new to me. I don't have any prior experience with that, and I'm basing everything that I know and that I'm doing off of the FSM and YouTube videos. When something is out of spec, I'm out of my league. I know that in spec is good, out of spec, there goes my knowledge, you know? First of all, the machine shop called, because I left a message yesterday, they called me back first thing this morning, and as expected, they are amazing to work with. Oh yeah, I don't even think I showed you this. Off camera, last night, I kept rotating the cams and measuring each and every lobe, so I had my exact measurements for everything, not just 2. You can see on the intake side here, we're pretty consistently around 10 thousandths. There's only, 2 that are 11 thousandths. And on the exhaust side, they're pretty much all 11 thousandths and higher with 2 10 thousandths. The main thing to note here is this is a cheap KA drift car build that the majority of people would not even, they don't even check the lash. They say, oh, I'll slap it in, it'll probably run fine. I'm treating this more as a learning experience, so I really do want to go the extra step to ensure that I'm doing everything right, just so I learn. Upon doing some Google research last night, some people actually recommend setting that lash even lower, like into the 0.0009 range. It minimizes noise, and even on the S14 KA, it's loud, and when I did measure the lash with feeler gauges, it was on the opposite end of that range. So some people will run tighter clearances to help minimize noise. And then of course I went down the rabbit hole of like learning if I did. So first of all, the machine shop called me like, hey, if you want it, like if you want more clearance, bring it to us. We will happily do it free of charge. Like they're like, if this was any inconvenience to you, let us know how we can make it right. As expected, they handled it super professionally. I've worked with them in the past, and I will continue to work with them in the future. I think that's also what threw me off, is like they're so professional and they do things so right that I was like, there's no way these cams can be flipped. But like, people make mistakes. It happens. You know what I mean? He walked me through everything on the phone, was like, if it would make you more comfortable, feel free to bring it on back here. We will make it right. But us personally, the techs there, the machinists, said that for my use case and the fact that I measured it cold, the numbers that I got were very reasonable and totally okay to run. And then I'm pretty sure different versions of the FSM say different things, because I could have swore that last time I checked, the exhaust and the intake clearances were different, ever so slightly. And you can even see here, the intake side is a little tighter than the exhaust side, which is what you want. But on the version of the FSM that I have downloaded, it says the valve lash should be the same for intake and exhaust, which originally I was like, oh no, what if they set the intake lash on the exhaust side? Like everything's all messed up. But realistically, like worst case scenario, if it wasn't in spec, which it is totally usable as is, worst case scenario, I wouldn't have to take the head off. I wouldn't have to undo anything really. I learned that there's little shims right there that there's formulas for that. I'd measure everything just like I did here, and let's say instead of being 11 thousandths, I wanted that to be 13 thousandths. There's a formula you can type in and figure out what size shim you would need. You pop that shim out, put the new shim in, and boom, you're good to go. It was way bigger of a problem in my head than it actually was, because it's actually not a problem. The only issue, the mistake, was that the cams were flipped, but that doesn't actually affect anything because I already put them back. They did say that valve lash, because they did say that they measured the lash on higher than that, but they let me know that once you torque the head down, you can actually change, like the lash changes ever so slightly. It looks like it tightened everything up a bit. I'm reassured. I just needed someone smarter than me that knows what they're doing to say, like, either A, don't run that's too risky, you'll burn your valves, whatever, or be like, dude, you're totally fine, you're overthinking it, and it was that one. That is good news. We're happy. That being said, let's pick up where we left off and finish this timing chain. So in theory, this should make a little bit more sense this time around. Go ahead and get everything hand tight really quick. Probably really hard to see. Can I zoom in on that? That is what we are trying to get, essentially. Where we have our little divots there, and down there. But now we rotate these cams until those little dowels go into the gears, and because the cams are on the right side this time, it should just work. So this, see, now it's actually lining up now, so this just has to ever so slightly go that way, and this one has to ever so slightly go that way. See how those sprockets are flush against the cams now? Because the dowels went into that little slot on the back of them. And sure enough, that is what it's supposed to look like. Got that link in the right spot. We have that link in the right spot. You can see the divot there. And right there. The divot's hard to see on that one, but put it right under there. And then lower timing chain, we checked already. We got that link and that link. So to my knowledge, this is now fully done besides adding the tensioner right here and then torquing these down. Oh, I forget, you really have to crank these down. Oh, there it is. There it is, okay. The last step is just throwing that tensioner on, which is very similar to the other tensioner. Go ahead and get that torqued to spec. Now we can pull that tab out to let the little piston thing come out. Boom. There we go. Tensioner number 2 is installed. To my knowledge, we have the timing chains done on the KA. Quick little sanity check for myself here. We torqued these, we torqued that, we torqued those, we torqued that, we torqued those, we torqued those. Everything has been torqued. Cam caps are good to go. Engine's at top dead center right now. Lobes are outward. All of that is looking good. Oh, look, that's nice of the machine shop. There was a stud that had snapped off in here that I was going to have to get out, and it looks like they did it for me. So thank you, guys. We have officially made it past the intimidating stuff for me, like the actual internals of the engine. Whoo! Okay, now, wow, that's like a huge weight off my shoulders, bro. 99% of this stuff on this table is garbage now, with the exception of this. We still got to replace that seal and put that thing on. Obviously, the timing covers, those go over everything we just did. And then this is all the hardware for the upper timing cover, lower timing cover, upper intake manifold, and lower intake manifold. And then we're gonna have to replace those seals, but this is all stuff that I've done before, so now it's really just putting everything back together. That will be the next video, and I'm hoping that now that we got the harder or the more intimidating stuff for me out of the way, it'll start going a lot quicker. The one, I don't know if problem's the right word, the one setback we might run into is our intake manifold over here. A lot of these hoses were cracked and rupturing, and I don't even know what they're called, but these little bent ones are like inside the intake manifold, and I didn't replace them on the S14 because I was like, oh, they'll be fine. And then I smoke tested the car and they all leaked, and they were such a pain to replace with the intake manifold on and the engine in the car. The only problem is they don't really sell kits for all like the hoses and vacuum lines in an intake manifold. You sort of gotta like find them piece by piece or just make everything yourself. Yeah, see, like a lot of vacuum lines ruptured. I still gotta go through all of this and clean this up. So mainly just check all these hoses, check the boots. I know this thing had a crack in it. I think this hose was cracked as well. So that's next. But wow, it's looking like an engine again. Look at that, how cool. One step at a time until this thing is done. I really appreciate you guys following along on this journey. This channel's been growing and we're gaining like a consistent viewership, which is a really cool feeling for me as a content creator. So I want to say thank you guys for supporting this dream, this journey. Catch you next episode. Peace out.